here we can talk about how you can use the message sent condition within your marketing automation workflows. And you'll see here that there is only, the green, positive connecting path. There's not the, positive and negative path that we see in some other conditions. And that's because this condition is set up to work, of course, only for those who actually are sent a message. So it's not going to work that if they, weren't sent some message. It only applies to the contacts that were actually sent a message. And another thing to make sure that you keep in mind is that any workflow that you use, where this is this is going to be the starting element, this message has to be sent after this workflow has been published. So it can't work based on messages that you have sent in the past. You need to set this up, and then subsequently any of the messages that, as the way that you set up the properties, would be sent, it can start tracking from that way forward. So if that's autoresponders that you want to be tracking, whenever an autoresponder is sent, it would be, applying to contacts that received that autoresponder or those autoresponders from the time after this workflow is published. If it's a newsletter, that would have to be something that, for example, you have scheduled. So if you're wanting to base a workflow around a newsletter that you have, coming up, you need to go schedule it, and then you'll be able to, set up this workflow, and then they'll be able to track it from there. People who receive this are sent this message after the workflow has been published. So that's something, the big thing to keep in mind basically is that, use it as a starting element, and it only applies to people who actually are sent the message, and then, it applies to messages that are sent after this workflow has been set up. And so you can use it to configure, and track, and begin a workflow whenever any message is sent. Maybe you want to do something. Whenever, any newsletter is sent, any autoresponder, any automation message is sent, or you can keep it really specific. So whenever, let's say, this particular promo message is sent, I want to do something. And so remember, let's say this is something I have planned to go out. I have scheduled to go out in a day or so. So I'm setting up this workflow so that whenever this is sent, I want to, for example, tag those users as having been sent that message, or maybe I want to, then of course check if, the link was clicked in that particular promo message and then do something else. So it just depends. But basically, if this can start a workflow based on somebody being sent a message. So that's the way to think about using that property.